Okay, so for this lab, I got the 7-seg driver, and I got rid of digit 3 and digit 2, and the constants for select digit 3 and to select digit 2. I left everything else mostly the same, with all the not LEDs, the 7-segs, and the selected blanks and select digits. So I left the binary to 7-seg the same. The digit select I changed to only have digit 0 and digit 1. The blank select I left as the same. That way I could disable the blanks for digit 3 and digit 2 since they aren't going to be used. The anode select, I only select anodes 0 and anodes 1. Scan rate, I left that the same so that it could still go at the 1 second interval. And the digit count I left the same. Well, I left the same to select the proper digit to blank. And then in my lab 5 file, I ported the clock, switch, button C, button D, LED, anodes to segs. I created constants for resets. The digit enables active. A constant vector of zeros because I couldn't get the others to work. I created travel speed, set that to 100,000, 100 million. I did create the shifter, and that's a 0. And I created to the init to 1 so that when I have my board on, the LED 0 will pop on and it was supposed to shift left. And then I have my constants for 7-seg and signals for digit 0 and digit 1, reset, bounce count, play actives, ball speed enable, serve, out of bounds, collision detect, shift right and shift left, start enable, and ball register, which is a 15 down to 0 vector. Then I have my states for my state machine, wait for serve, start ball, ball wait, left, ball underscore wait underscore left, ball underscore wait underscore right, move left and move right, and then I have the current state and next state. And then my port map of my 7-seg driver, and I assigned the values in there too. And then I have my button sync, which takes in the clock and reset, and if on the rising edge of the clock, if button C is assigned to the signal serve. Then I have button D assigned to reset, and then I have a ball speed process that takes in the clock and reset and increments. So I get increments the clock until I get the speed of 1 second for my LEDs to travel on the board. So on the rising edge of the clock, if play active is high, then speed travel equals speed travel minus 1, then speed resets to 0, and ball speed enable equals not ball speed enable, which means in that case ball speed would be active, else speed increments by 1. And then if play active is not active, ball speed just equals ball speed enable, which is 0. Then I have my state register that sets the current state to the next state on the rising edge of the clock. And I have my state transition process that takes in ball speed enable, current state, serve, out of bounds, and collision detect. And then I initialize shift right to 0, shift left to 0, play active to 1, and start enable to 0. So in the first state, the button is pressed, then start ball. Then it moves to the next state, which is start ball, else it'll stay in the same state. And then once I hit the second state, if start enable is active, start enable will be declared active, and if the button is released, then you'll move to the next state. Otherwise, you stay in the same state. Then when once you hit the next state, which is ball wait left, if ball speed enable equals active, then if collision detect equals active, you go to move right. Otherwise, you move left. And then If if ball speed enable is not active, then you check if out of bounds is active, or if bounce count is equal to 99. Then you go to the wait for serve state, else you just return into the same state, ball wait left. And then when you move left after the collision is not detected, then shift left becomes active, and if ball speed enable is not active, you move back to ball wait left, else you move to the move left. You stay in the move left state. And then if the collision was detected as it was, if the collision was detected up here, then you go to the move right state, and shift right becomes active. And if ball enable is not active, then the next state will be ball wait right, else you'd move to the move right. You stay in the move right state. And the last state is the ball wait state. So if ball speed enable is active, then if it determines if collision detect is active, and if collision detect is active, then I move to move underscore left, else I would move to move underscore right. And then if ball speed enable is not active, the out of bounds is active, or bounce count equals 99, then you go back to the first state, which is wait for serve. Or if none of those happen, then you just stay in ball wait right. And then hit the ball register that takes in the ball speed enable, and it has a variable that count that ranges from 0 to 99 to keep track of the number of bounces. So if ball register, so in here I initialize ball register to 1, which allows LED 0 to turn on. And then if reset is active, so when I press on the down button, it'll show zeros, and then when I release it, it will show the one LED on lighting up. And then on the rising edge of the clock, if ball speed is not active, then if shift left is active, then you shift left and the count increments by 1. Otherwise, if shift right is active, then you shift right and count increments by 1. Or if neither one of those are active, then count is just count. And if ball speed enable is active, then ball register is equal to itself, and which means it doesn't move. And then at the end of the process, I initialize bounce count to the variable count to bounce count, the signal bounce count, and ball register to LEDs. And then I hit the bounce decoder, and it takes in digit 1, digit 0 to get the single digit value for it between 0 and 9. So bounce count for digit 0, it's just digit 0 modulus 10 to get the remainder. And for digit 1, it's bounce count divided by 10 to get the value for the digit 1. And then out of bounds is simply taking a ball register, and if ball register equals 0, then out of bounds is active, else out of bounds is not active. So either when I hit reset, it's going to say out of bounds, or if the ball slides off the board after it done passed through everything, then it's going to say out of bounds is active. And the collision detect, I take in switch and ball register, and if switch and ball register does not equal 0, saying that it equals a 1 somewhere in there, then collision detect becomes active, else collision detect becomes not active. So in my test bench, I poured in all my inputs and outputs of button C, button D, the clock, the switch, the anode, segments, and LEDs. And I created signals for all of those, and I have a signal called check done, which, like my last one, I had to create the 20 clock cycles, but now I created 10. Then I follow your test bench procedure that was created. That takes the clock and runs it until I reach the counter value, which is 10. And I have my port map assigning my signals to the my components to the appropriate signals. And then I have my waveform process, which just has a test bench clock for 10 nanoseconds and check done and clock of 1. Then I have my TV process, which is just switches, which has the switch and the button C. So none of the switches are on, and button C is pressed, and then button C is off. Then button D is on for reset, and then button D is off, and then button C is back on to start it again. Then button C is off, and then switch zero is flipped. And I want to say that I could not get my LED to bounce like at all. So you're gonna see that in my simulation, which is why I have switch zero flipped on, so that you can see that my collision detect does work, even though there's something I think in my state transition process that didn't quite work right, but I wasn't sure what it was. So if you look at my simulation, I have button D, I hit for reset, then button C starts. So switches are all off, segs are displaying a 0, anode 0 is off, but my LEDs are reset. My LEDs are 0, otherwise it's a 1 for my indent to 1. Now my clock cycles, and then play active is a 0 until it hits high, which is in my state. So my states go wait for serve, and then start ball, and then ball wait left. So when I hit wait for serve, play active is off, start enable is off, and out of bounds will be on, just because I have it reset to zeros. And then when I press the button, so wait for serve goes through, then I hit start ball, so play active becomes high in my current state, start enable becomes high, and then my next state is start wait, ball wait left, and serve was pressed, so in the wait state, so that's a high right there, and that is synced up with the clock. And then I can follow my next state. So my next state's ball wait left, and I'm hearing ball wait left. So in this case, since I have switch 1 flipped, then collision detect flashes is high, and then ball wait left is still there. So then I go to here when ball speed enable is high. So when ball speed enable is high, it still says ball wait left there in my current state, but in my next state, since the collision was detected, it goes to move right, but it doesn't show in my current state, which was a problem, which is why I said my state transition is the problem. And then it goes to ball wait left instead of ball wait right. So then I come to my next transition, which is here with ball speed at high. So when ball speed is still high, same thing happens. I'm gonna move right, and then because of the collision that was detected, so with the collision detected, the ball just stays there and move right in this case. And that is my test bench.